Do you think that parents uh, also see their students as a kind of investment? They give them something. They give them such a good life, good education, and then in return they want them to be there for them, which is, of course, morally it's very correct. But the thought of thinking it as an investment is not right. That's what I think. Do you think, because you're, as you said, you're working with so many and remote places, what's going on there? Am I absolutely wrong?
Well, I think let me contextualize this. Let's take a poor family. Let's take a use case of poor family. Uh, I don't know whether you read this Challenges of Global Poverty and the thesis by Duflo and Banerjee, the famous economists, the Nobel
I'm going to
this
do
thing.
that after this. Yeah.
One of the very important things that we discover in poor families that they especially used to have lots of children. You know why? Because they thought about ROI. They thought about investment. They said, let me hedge my bets. If out of 5 children of mine or 4 children of mine, if one or two are able to sort of lead their lives better, I still gain. This was an economic choice, apart from not being aware of family planning, etc. But this is an economic choice. Of course, now with the increased awareness and things like that, they are doing better. But there's an interesting fact. Now let's look at rich families, right? Somebody who's coming from wealthy backgrounds, they don't have to worry about money and things like that. You will find incidents that in earlier times they used to have lots of children because they wanted to basically make sure that they maximize wealth through propensity. So the driver was maximizing there. Here it was about optimizing in poor families. And now you will see both are looking at family planning and cutting down on in terms of how many children they want to have. And when you think about investment in a child, it is not only about economics, it's about social, it's about emotional, it's also about making sure that the child is there for them in their old age. And there is nothing wrong about it. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, I don't think parents are wrong
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
believing or expecting their children to support them. However, if you look at the current state of how the things are, I believe that their role should be to provide and not to expect, just to be on the safer side of the coin, right? Tomorrow, children are not going to be sticking around in the places that they grew in. You will have lots of students, really going to other places, other locations because they want to explore the world. Gone are the days when children used to be confined to or the generations used to be confined to same place, right, for years and for decades and for centuries. Now you will see much more mobility, right? And because of that mobility, it's always in the old age, parents will find it tougher to shift to any other location. You and I and all must have experienced it. And the old people don't want to generally shift there because they have set habits and they have set sort of environment and set context which they don't want to change, right? Younger people, new generation, on the other hand, is exploratory in nature. There is there is interesting work done by an INSEAD professor on professional nomadics. So
Mhm.
tomorrow generation is going to be professional nomadics. The sense of place is going to diminish. It will remain only culturally and from the point of view of what they have inherited from their previous generations, etc. As a result of all these different changes, what is happening is when you think about investment, it is making sure that you have something what I call detached investment. Basically, what that means is I know that I have produced a child, so I have to provide for that child. It's my duty, it's my responsibility. However, I will be pragmatic, not to expect anything in return from my child, because I know what are the things that are going to be happening in his or her life, which are far more complex than what I witnessed in my own life and based on what my father or my grandfather witnessed in their lives, right? So I think the right expectation is all about making sure that the child develops the right habits, and we as parents are responsible for it. But post that, once you give them what they're supposed to, as children of yours, then it's up to them. And I think willingness to let go is a very important skill that the parents need to develop. Interestingly, I'll give you a quick 2 minutes on this. In the schools, we are witnessing a very interesting phenomenon when the parents are saying it's not my responsibility to look at studies of the child and the growth of the child because that's the reason I have paid you money and I have given my child to your school.
Right.
And teachers, on the other hand, are really having difficult time with parents because they say nobody's investing any efforts in the child when the children go home.
Hmm.
right? So you see the contrasting lenses here, right?
Right.
Each community is expecting somebody else to do the job. Whose job is it? The answer is very simple. It's their job. It's not only teachers, it's not only parents. Because the child, you can't separate a child at home environment and school environment. The child is the same, and they carry the impressions both ways,
Yeah.
right? And there is a responsibility, there is a duty of the parent towards the child, not only in good habits and good value system and building the character, but also in making them studious and making them inquisitive and building all the skills that we are referring to in home environment, in addition to the teacher doing their role in the schools. So these are the skilling efforts which are required for parents as well as teachers. And unfortunately today, very few people are focusing on parents, but we as EKSAQ want to do a lot to make sure that the parents play the role effectively.